So welcome to this inaugural meeting to instigate the development of an integrated catchment management plan for the Taiari area. It's good to see a great turnout. I think we had 31 online there before, so it's really good to see a great turnout of all interested people in the area. So I'd just like to start with karakia. Tui ki rongo, tui ki raro, tui ki waho, tui ki roto, tui ki te haere tangata, ko rongo te pō, ko rongo te o, huie, tahikia. Kia ora, I'm Lloyd McCall, an ORC councillor and the chair of the Integrated Catchment Management Working Group. I'm just going to start off with giving you just a quick history of how we got here tonight. The ORC Integrated Catchment Management Programme was conceived as part of the 2021-31 long-term plan. So that was like at the end of the last triennium. And so that tasked the ORC staff to lead the development, implementation and review of integrated catchment management plans in collaboration with the community and iwi. The work began in earnest in November 2023, which was the setting up and the starting of the integrated catchment management project in the Catlins area. Their CAP is well underway. In fact, their CAP is currently in the delivery stage with projects starting on the ground. So that's really good to see. At the same time, or the second half, in the last 6 months, has been co-development work on the Upper Lakes Catchment Action Plan. So that's the area which includes both Wakatipu and Wānaka. And that integrated catchment plan is drawing to a close. I think the group is pretty much settled on their catchment action plan, and that's being presented to the council in their September meeting for endorsement. So that catchment action plan has gone very well, and it's getting ready to start to move into the delivery phase. We're here today, where it's quite exciting that we're here today to actually start our next major task is in the Taiari area, kicking off the process in the Taiari area, which is a key waterway and a key catchment in the Otago area. So this is, I'm just going to leave it at that, and that'll get covered as the evening progresses. But as I said, I'm the chair of the Integrated Catchment Management Working Group. So this group was set up to oversee the whole of the Integrated Catchment Management Program. So this group's made up of councillors, in partnership with mana whenua representatives, ORC staff, and there's also a representative from the Otago Catchment community. So that's an Otago-wide catchment group, umbrella group. So I'd just like to recognise tonight that we have from that group, we've got Councillor Kate Wilson is on the call. There's myself, obviously, and Councillor Alexa Forbes was also on the working group during the development of the Upper Lakes CAP. We also have on screen, we have Sandra McIntyre, who is representing Okaha iwi. So Sandra, welcome and thank you for being here. We also, Dean Barno, who represents Te Ao Marama from Southland. Dean's got an apology, and I think he's currently offshore, to be honest. And also the other person that's a key person on that group is Simon O'Meara, who represents Otago Catchment Communities. I think that's probably enough from me at this stage. So welcome. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your evening to come and learn about our ambitions for the Taiari area and how the process may unfold should you wish to partake into the future. And I'll just hand back over to Emma, and Emma will be able to introduce the staff, etc., and carry on from here. So thank you very much, Emma.
Kia ora, Lloyd. Thank you very much. My name is Emma, and I will be hosting this meeting tonight. And in the modern technology, in the modern times, we have the team spread out, both people in the room and both people online. So I'd just like to pass over to Sandra and Tim to introduce themselves, and then we'll come back into this room again.
Kia ora koutou. My name's Sandra McIntyre. I'm a planner. Tim and I'll let Tim introduce himself. We work for Okaha, which is, for those of you who don't know, we are a consultancy who are owned by Kaitahu Runaka, so that is by the tangata whenua of this area. We are involved in essentially environmental planning and getting involved in those things on behalf of Kaitahu iwi.
Kia ora koutou, ko Tim Barlow. So I'm another planner with Okaha. And so I said we're involved in both the policy and consenting side around management of awa like the Taiari. And I also whakapapa to both Tonga Tako and Katakuri Runaka, people who like who are two of the Taiari Runaka have an interest in the Taiari.
And Tim also spent his childhood in Mangiatutu.
Yeah, kia ora.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Tim and Sana. Kia ora. So yes, in the room here today, we have the Integrated Catchment Management team, or parts of the team. We have a few people on screen and a few people off screen. So Aaron, kia ora, and Charlie, kia ora. Charlie and Aaron is mainly supporting us on the technical side today, the IT wizards in the group, and otherwise they are working in the Integrated Catchment group as analysts. Would you like to say anything, Fiona, or would you nail it?
No, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
So if you see their hands, they are just off camera and doing the tech stuff. So yeah, that's perfect. And then Sophie, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Kia ora, my name's Sophie Fern. I am one of the catchment action planners here at the Otago Regional Council.
Kia ora. Yeah, and I'm Emma Arleson, and I am also working in this team as a catchment action planner and coordinator for the Taiari. So as I said, I will be hosting today, and I will be clicking the button on when we are changing the slide. So that's me. I just want to give you the purpose of today's meeting. The whole reason why we're all here is that we're seeking the membership to the Taiari Integrated Catchment Group. But this group will be responsible for delivering the Taiari Catchment Action Plan. And that plan centers on protecting and enhancing the Taiari ecosystems. And you can see we're seeking membership. If you're interested in being part of this group, you will fill in the form on the hub, the Taiari hub. So we have a website for the Taiari. That's the purpose of today's meeting. And we will go into backgrounds and just sharing a bit more about that process and also what it means to be a member of this group. So on the very high level still, this is will require workshop involvement. We will be meeting in person, aiming for about 6 to 8 in-person workshops or gatherings, meetings. There will be included travel and some homeworks for those workshops. You will be bringing, your local expert knowledge. You will be bringing that information into this group. Might have to do some homework. And then building those relationships that you already have, building the relationships and acting in that as that contact between the Catchment Action Plan, the Integrated Catchment Management, Integrated Catchment Group, apologies, and the community. So, today's presentation, we will go over 3 parts. We'll just talk a little bit further about the Integrated Catchment Management Programme. Sophie will be talking to that part. Then we'll hand over to Sandra, who just introduced herself, talking about Manawhena's connection to the Taiari. And then I will be jumping back, talking about the Catchment Action Plan, specifically the group, what it means, just more details, and just again highlighting that that's the whole purpose of today, to seek the membership to this program, to this group. So I will, oh yeah, we are here, beautiful. We're starting here. I will be handing over to Sophie.
Kia ora. So I am going to be talking to you about the program as a whole. And so the Integrated Catchment Management Program, there's a number of acronyms that you might hear this evening. So ICM is the Integrated Catchment Management Program, and the CAP is the Catchment Action Plan. And that's how we deliver the integrated catchment management program. It will become clear in a moment. So the program as a whole is a whole ecosystem approach to landscape-based management, and it very much looks at the fact that each of these ecosystems have relationship with each other. So any actions that we do on the land will affect the fresh water. Any actions in the fresh water will go out into the estuaries and out into sea. Additionally, anything that we do in the top of the catchment will affect the middle and will affect the bottom, hence having that entire landscape-based approach, and seascape. I don't know why the sea always gets left out. So integrated catchment management operates in the non-regulatory space. Of course, we live in the world where there are all of the regulations that sort of set the basis of how we want to treat our environment, but there are so many people who are doing things that are up above that, and we're in that space, the one that goes beyond the regulations, that people can be involved in if they want to, but also if they don't, that's fine as well. We use the water catchment as the geographic boundary of the area in which we're working, but we're not just looking at fresh water. We're looking at all of the things that are part of that ecosystem. We're also deeply aware that there are groups and people who have been doing the most amazing work in the Taiari for generations, and we're wanting to incorporate that to reach some shared goals and outcomes as well, that people are very much part of that ecosystem. We also work in the environmental management space, but very much on the understanding that that healthy environment supports the social, economic, and cultural considerations also of the ecosystem. And this slide just shows all of the various things and land uses that are part of the Taiari that we will need to think about when we're doing our work. So we're trying to be integrated and look at all of these things within the catchment. And so we very much acknowledge that when the land is well, the people are well. So ka ora te whenua, ka ora te takata. We have some principles that we try and work under, and these are to the left of your screen in yellow there. We try and be collaborative. We want all of those areas of knowledge to be brought into the room. And we also want to find the best available knowledge to make the best possible plan. We've got wonderful science experts in the council. There are wonderful experts in community, in all kinds of areas of knowledge, and we'd like to bring those together to make our plan as complete as it possibly can be. We also would like the work that we decide to do together to be focused. There's so much that can be done. There's so much that possibly should be done. But let's start somewhere and all put our energies into one place and sort of focus where we can do the most impactful work that we can. We aim to be accountable, to show why we've made the decisions that we've made, and to make that available to community, as well as to the folks who are working with us in this integrated catchment group who are co-developing the plan. And we very much run on being adaptive. Gosh, it would be amazing if all of the knowledge was out there and we could make the perfect plan based on the perfect knowledge, but that's never going to be the case. And so with a lot of environmental management, we try and be as adaptive as possible, make the very best plan that we can, but then monitor it. And if things don't work out, then come up with the next best reason, next best course of action based on the evidence available. And as Lloyd so kindly said at the beginning, we do have a couple of CAPs underway. I am so proud to have worked on the Captain's CAP that's currently under implementation. And as Lloyd also said, one of the great joys of seeing the work now happening on the ground there that are bringing those strategies to life. And it's also been a joy to watch the Upper Lakes happen and to read the drafts that the council will be seeing in September. It's looking amazing, and it's just wonderful to be part of it. And if you want to know anything more about these two CAPs, this is the URL that you can go to, but there is an easier way. Thank you. So if you do look up ORC ICM on any of your various search engines, you'll be able to see the work that we've done already, and so you can see what we're aiming for and what we want to do in the Taiari as well.
Yeah, thank you, Sophie. If there's any questions throughout this presentation today, you can type them actually at any time through the presentations in the chat box. We will have a couple of stops like this one to answer any questions if needed. Otherwise, we'll just move on, and there will be, of course, another option to do so in the very end. And you can also contact us after this meeting as well. Beautiful, thank you. So we are already into the middle of today's presentation, so the second section. So I will hand over to Sandra, and I don't know if Tim might be speaking as well, I'm not sure, but Sandra for sure, talking about Mana Whenau's connection to Taiari.
Kia ora, everybody. Having a look at the list of everybody who is here tonight, I don't really think that I need to. I think that everybody, or pretty much everybody in this room, has been involved with Kaitahu to a greater or lesser extent. So I don't think I need to go through this. If anybody does have questions about who Kaitahu are and what this is all about, then feel free to put questions in the chat, and then I can answer those after that. But I think at this stage, I think if we can just, I guess what I'll just say here is at the moment, the way that Kaitahu works is that it's very bottom up way of working. So the people who have the connection to a particular area are the people who have the right to speak about that area and the right to get involved in decision making about that area. And then the structures such as the Papatapu Renaka, who are established, they are established to, I guess, assist the individuals in the whānau and the hapu who have the interest in an area to be able to exercise their rights and their responsibilities in relation to that area. So that's the key thing there. So if we can go to the next slide, Emma. So in the Taiari Catchment, there are two renaka who represent people with interest in the area. Those are Karihurapu Renaka Ki Puketeraki, which is based at Karitani, and Turinanga or Otago, which is based out at Otago on the Otago Peninsula. I think that Paulette Tamati Aliff might have joined us. And Paulette, if you are the Paulette who is there, and if you want to add anything to what I'm saying here, then please do so. Paulette is from Otago.
Okay, someone's Sandra, yes. Kia ora koutou. Look, if Sandra, someone's saying that they don't have any idea what the Māori words mean, and if you have the English meaning in brackets behind it. Otherwise, maybe I can just type it in the chat as we go, if you like. But some of these concepts I think you're talking about, perhaps on the slide, it's quite hard to define, that they are conceptual values, I suppose. It sounds a bit fluffy, but there's often quite a debate amongst ourselves what how to truly translate something. But we'll give it our best. How's that? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the reason that we put these concepts up on the slide is just, I guess, as a whole, these are all interlinked concepts, and as a whole, they're concepts that relate to the way in which Kaitahu interact with the environment, and they have at their heart some key concepts that are about that every part of the natural environment has mana that relates right back to the creation and comes down through that, and there is a connection of people to the environment through that. It's very much about interconnectedness between people and the environment, and the rights and responsibilities there are to look after the environment, to remember the stories of the past, to strengthen identity, and to ensure that the environment remains healthy for the future. And that's probably a little bit of a very garbled phrase.
Yeah, thank you. It looks like Paulette is doing her very best at
Excellent.
translating the words in a very short translation. Would you like me to change to the next slide, Sandra?
Please.
Okay.
And again, this is a very, very brief sort of touching on some of the key aspects of the connection of Kaitahu with the Taiari. And again, Paulette, if you would prefer to talk about this slide, I will hand over to you. If you would like me to, I will, but
I'm happy to. So I guess in our traditional worldview, there's a myth. It's a mix of sort of mythology and whakapapa or genealogy, and so mata to us today rests as embodied in Saddle Hill. So it's a geographical feature, but in terms of genealogy, mata is an ancestor, and it comes right down to my so it's a great grandfather of mine, and I share that with approximately 12,000 members who have registered with Otago. Anyhow, mata, we say kaitiaki, which is a word for I guess to protect, guardian. Taniwha is a supernatural being. So these stories are ways of embedding traditional knowledge, but mata was that supernatural being. His movements are attributed to, or we attribute the shapes of the river to his movements, and so he was in pursuit of his master, if you like, Te Raki Tauneke, which is an ancestral name. Te Raki Tauneke, an ancestor from Kāti Māmoe, one of the earlier arrivals in this land, and so in pursuit of his master, we say that mata carved out the harbour, the Otago harbour, and then made his way across the land, and the little wriggles across the landscape were made by mata in pursuit of his master. So that's that sort of story. There you go. So it just really connects us back to these areas from the beginning of our arrival and occupation.
And the other important feature of the Taiari is that it has been a centre of food gathering and travel for a very long time for whānau. So it's the wetland complex that there was up and down the river was really important in terms of sustaining generations of people, and so the wetlands are really important to Kaitahu, in particular the wetlands that remain in the upper end with the scroll plain, and at the lower end with Waihora complex.
I've got a comment to make about that. So, people think we were foraging for food out there, going about as nomads, just gathering food everywhere we went. But there were systems that were very organised. And if you like, whilst we had our sort of, I guess, permanent centres, political centres on the coast, which made sense because this is all about a tribal economy that sustains the people. Today we have money and property and all sorts of things, but back in those traditional times, our economy was based around food, and trade. So these areas, although we might be living on the coast, or today we have our marae and these been squeezed into these little marae reserves. These areas, if you like, we liken it to a tribal estate. If those of us that have been involved in farming will relate to this, you're not visiting every area of your farm on a daily basis, but there's different times of the year that you'll be utilizing your farm. So in a sense, this tribal estate, we were gathering those resources at various seasons throughout the year. And we had systems that were developed. We evolved with our culture and practice evolved with time, and so food preservation was really important, because if you're gathering food and you want to trade it, you've got to preserve it. So we were, and down here, of course, we know that the gourds, or the hue, we call them, didn't grow as successfully in this climate. So we developed the poha, which is using rimurapa, or the bull kelp from the coast, tōtara bark, and woven baskets. So these were vessels in which we stored our food. We made flotation devices, if you like. We called them mokehi. They were made out of the reeds, which raupo, everybody knows raupo. The reeds would make these vessels, and they would transport tons and tons of eels, weka, I think they call them the Maori wood hen, and other birds, especially up in the scroll plains. We know that parts there were heavily forested, and so there was food was transported down these riverways, down these waterways, which were those arteries, or those veins that connected us from the mountains to the sea. And so those were transported to those political centres where most of our trade took place. And of course, then you had access to the ocean going vessels. So that made that trade and transportation easier. But yeah. So it wasn't just about foraging for food. That's what I'm saying.
Thanks, Paulette. Can we go on to the next slide? Yeah, this is, I guess, just looking at why Kaitahu and Okaha are involved with this program. It relates to the fact that Kaitahu have a strong cultural obligation to ensure that the environment is handed on in a healthy state, so that it is there for future generations. Kaitahu have been involved with ORC over a long period in terms of trying to deal with the effects of the loss of food sources, the loss of species, the loss of important parts of the environment, and trying to look at how we can, how some of those things can be improved and restored. And there is a real, I guess, understanding of the need to work together on that. This program is part of the broader work that we're doing with ORC, and the holistic approach that is part of this ICM program is something that really fits with the way in which Kaitahu look at the interconnectedness of all parts of the environment. So that's really why we are here. So I think that's that. If there are any questions, and as I said before, we'd be happy to provide any of the details about some of those words. We can do that after this, or however you'd like to as well, but rather than sort of breaking up the meeting. But we can certainly, if the person who wanted to know about that contacts Emma, she can put them in touch with me, and we can give you a real good explanation of all of those.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you, Paulette, for joining in and sharing some of your knowledge. Thanks, Sandra, for that. And we'll take some of the questions in the chat box, or you can reach out to us afterwards, and we will continue with the presentation. And we are already in the last block, which, lucky you guys, is me. I'll be speaking to this block. So I just want to share a little bit more about the details about the Catchment Action Plan, the group itself, some expectations on the group, what ORC and the ICM team is bringing to the table, and just, yeah, that's that. Let's dive into it. So the Catchment Action Plan, we often refer to it as the CAP. So the CAP is that detailed plan that sets out the what, the when, the where, the how within the Taiari Catchment. And it is developed by the group. And this is the group that we're seeking membership for. So if you're interested, you can fill in the expression of interest form on the Taiari Hub. And this beautiful map here, I'm a big fan of maps. This is so pretty. This is like the starting point for the spatial scope. And as you can see on the map, there is some proposed CAP extension. And this just really means that this is just a suggestion for a starting point. The group itself will develop the actual spatial scope. So there's a bunch of benefits of the CAP. Just see if we can mute that there. Yeah. Apologies. Yeah, so there's a couple of benefits of the CAP. So it is a part of the Otago Regional Council's long-term plan. And the long-term plan sets out that it forms this basis of the planning, the engagement, and the operational investment. So working with the partners and the community as well to make a plan that improves the environment. And it is actually a framework that will be able to be used by other organizations, groups, and individuals if one wish, because we will have the Taiari Hub, which will have a very interactive section. We will be able to share the data and all the progress of the CAP. And there is a huge possibility to be working in the non-regulatory space. And I'm just emphasizing it again, because often we do get questions whether or not we can change the regulations. We cannot in this program. But Sophie touched on it earlier, how we can like work beyond the regulations to improve it together. So how do we deliver it? It is based on an internationally recognized approach that's called the Open Standards for the Practice Conservation. We are building on the existing kaupapa and plans, so the existing work that has been happening in the area, and we will be meeting in-person workshops to figure out the details of the plan. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're really building on the plans that have already been happening and on the actions that are already happening. We've got great examples from the two previous CAPs in the Catlins and the Upper Lakes on how we're doing this.
Excuse me, but is it appropriate for me to chip in at the stage? Peter Hoare.
Kia ora, Peter. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Good. Look, I'm quite concerned. It's sort of, over the last 20 years, I don't know how many meetings I've been to, and the Taiari Catchment's always been talked about. In my mind, there's only one thing happened to the Taiari Catchment. It's gone backwards. Where I live, we've got two large irrigation dams that absolutely stink with Canadian geese. We've got the mountain, our catchments filling up with weeds like broom, gorse, wilding trees. The broom in the Kaibin River is almost linked up with the broom in the Waitaki River. I've been saying about it for years. And what is really sad, I don't get listened to. And I think the meetings I've been to, and I was at one the other day concerning the catchment, there was a whole lot of people there I'd never met before. They sat there, they contributed nothing to the meeting. I'm suggesting that if you want to get the catchment, do something really, really good to improve the catchment, you get on side with the land operators, the farmers like myself and quite a few others. And I know farmers younger than me, they will not go to these meetings. They will not take any interest at all. You've got to do something to lure them into it. And some pretty good and pretty proactive people out there. And I think one of the best move we could make is put together a small team, appoint a team to develop so that we can go out there and tackle the real problems in the water catchment. And I've just mentioned 2 of them. I can probably think of another couple. We can't take them all on, but we would need seeding money. We would need a completely different structure. We would need, we would respect the regional council to the point where we would have to report to them. Other than that, we would be a do-it-yourselfer. We would expect support from elsewhere. It's just a suggestion I'm putting forward. I've been on this for quite a while. I don't get listened to, but I do know that the regional council, you know, you think everything's going real good, but you have not got a good relationship with the farmers at all. And I can name a few of them in the Taiari Catchment who have had, last September, they had a very bad experience. They had a letter that was totally inappropriate regarding weed control. I actually asked for an apology, never got one. And I think you need to do something. You need to talk to us. I think you've got the drift of what I'm saying. I'll just leave it like that.
Absolutely.
You definitely need to do something, and something quite different, just to having meetings with rooms filled up with people who have no knowledge of their subject and quite frankly don't have an interest in it other than just going to meetings.
Thanks, Peter. Thank you for the input.
Thank you for listening to me.
Of course, yes. Yeah, and I think you got some valid points, and we will be able to address them through this process. And I think that's one of the benefits with the CAP process and the meeting tonight, is that we're really looking for a diversity of range of members to the group that will be able to cover that local knowledge. But I will come to that part in just a bit. So let's see.
I've just had somebody sent me a text and telling me that this is the process that will change things. I think we might have said something like that 20 years ago. You know?
Yeah, it's I hear you. Right. So I just wanted to talk through the steps of the actual CAP process, starting with building those relationships. There is a few examples on the screen at the moment. There are many more, and you really have to build those relationships to be able to move forward. The other part of this CAP process is actually looking at the values and their goal health, the health that we wish them to have. We will also look at pressures and causes. You know, kind of analyzing what is causing the stressors to those values that we want, that we have identified, and looking at actions and developing strategies that can either enhance the values or reduce the pressures, right? And now next step will be the implementation of these actions. This is where the step that the Catlins are in at the moment. So developing that operational plan, you know, so the spade on the ground, or whatever that looks like, and then be able to track the progress and record those results. And Sophie touched on it earlier as well, but it's really important that you do that, adapt and adjust. You've got to review, you've got to make the changes, because this is a dynamic environment. So when it comes to the Taiari, we're here. Oh no, not yet. I was gonna say that this is building on the existing plans and the content and building on those current actions that are already happening. And we are here now, building those relationships. The integrated catchment group will specifically be looking at this part of the process initially. And as you can see on the bottom of the screen, the ORC and us as the ICM team, we provide that framework and the structure on how this process looks like. And then we can facilitate all those workshops. And what's on the screen right now is just examples of how those workshops will look like. It might be more workshops than this or less. But what's really important is that there is the ICG that decides what goes into those blocks, you know, the details. And that's the whole purpose. Does that make sense? So who will be the ICG members? So there's a couple of seats in the group that are reserved, and you can see them on the screen now. And the rest of the seats are the ones that we are seeking the membership for, and that's through that expression of interest. And, you know, since this is quite a great opportunity, quite fun work, to be honest, there might be a chance that there is a lot of interest to becoming a member. So we will be going through a selection process to really ensure that that membership has that knowledge that we're seeking and has that diversity of knowledge in the whole group. So that's the knowledge and the skills, the local knowledge. And these are some examples on what that knowledge or skills could look like. It's just a starting point, and it's just as an inspirational. And this list can actually also be accessed on the Taiari Hub and through that expression of interest form. But just as inspiration and examples, if you feel like you have something else that you might bring to this group, you have the opportunity to express that. So I showed this slide earlier, but now when you know a little bit more on what we're actually talking about, this one might make more sense. So it's as a volunteer member, you are expected to come to these workshops if you get selected. The workshops and the process might take a year, might take a little bit less. It all really depends on the group and what the group needs. You are expected to travel to these in-person workshops. You might expected to do some of the homework, bringing that knowledge we talked about and building on those relationships. So I hope that makes sense. I have mentioned the online website. We call it the hub, the Taiari Hub. Currently, it looks like something like this. And that is where we will be mapping and showing the values, the pressures, you know, the work that we're actually doing. And at the moment, since we are at this stage of the process, you can access the expression of interest form. You can also access that draft terms of reference for the Integrated Catchment Group membership, which you might want to look at before you fill in the form. And that's, once again, that's a draft and a suggestion, and it will be shaped by the group once they are ready. But really, this is just a way of us to be transparent of the work that's been happening. And both the Catlins and the Upper Lakes has their own hub. And you can access that, and you can see all the process, and it's actually really cool. Express your interest. It's really exciting. I have said it on repeat. You do it through the hub. This is the website address. We have also put our email address there, which goes to the whole team, the people that can't be in this room tonight as well, and the people that are off screen. And if you have any other questions, this is a good opportunity, because I think we have a little bit of time left. If anyone has any questions.
Hey, I'm just gonna jump in. I'm not sure there's a ton of us, so I did raise my hand, but I don't know if you can see it or not. Hey, besides the obvious benefits of like the ecological and ethical outcomes that come from a project like this, in being involved, what other type of benefits may there be? Even small things like for example, like if I were to be a member, I'd like to include that in my skill set on my LinkedIn. Do you have anything associated with LinkedIn that kind of broadcasts the work that we're doing? Like what other small little benefits might there be in being a member?
I can take that, seeing as I have helped work with folks down in the Catlins. So I don't know about LinkedIn, I'm afraid. It's not my area of knowledge. I know that the folks who have been on the Upper Lakes group many of them have put that on their LinkedIn profile, and that's been part of the connections that they make. I think it's a really amazing shared learning journey for community to learn about each other's values and about the things that everybody cares about within that ecosystem. I know that I have learned a huge amount of my area of knowledge is ecology, much more than farming, and I've learned so much from the farming members of the group who co-developed the Catchment Action Plan. I think it's really formed, for me, it's formed a sort of community down there as well. It's always such a joy for me to go down to Owaka and see everybody again. So they're not massively tangible benefits, but it's a joy of a project to be involved in. It genuinely is.
Oh, yep. So we've got one question in the chat, which highlights where will the meetings be held? These are in-person meetings I'm talking about. Once again, this is actually going to be decided by the Integrated Catchment Group and what's suitable for the group. I envision that because the catchment is rather large, and just to put some fun facts in there, I think it's New Zealand's 4th largest river, and I think we're talking 288 kilometers long. So because of that, I envision that we could meet at different points throughout the process. I know that the Upper Lakes CAP has decided to meet on, where did they meet? They meet on one side of the...
They've met both in Wanaka and in Tahuna in Queenstown. Yeah. So they've done meetings in both places.
So that worked really well for their group. Also, actually, it's a really good question, because on the expression of interest form, we have put a question in, where will be your...
You go.
Oh, yes, thank you. I'm trying to read the chat at the same time as I'm talking. On the expression of interest form, there is an opportunity to just add where will be most suitable for you to actually meet. But yeah, it's up to the.
Sorry.
All right. Oh, yep. Someone asked to see this as an inspiration again.
We will have to get back to you, Ray, on that one. So the question is, how does the Taiari flood and drainage tie in with this, and should they have representation? We do have obviously internal discussions with the staff in the ORC, so we would definitely talk with our colleagues around the, I assume, regulatory work, and you will know this better than me, that the Taiari flood and drainage work is involved in. So yes, it'll definitely be a conversation between both of these groups. And the group is funded. So the folks who are part of the ICG are doing it as a volunteer. The program is funded as part of the long-term plan from the Otago Regional Council. And we've got a lovely question about whether it should be a tour that would help staff know about the area. I think that would be amazing.
So when I'm staring really strangely at this end of the screen, it's because I'm reading the chat inbox, okay? Being mindful of the time and see if we can answer a few more questions. 1 second. Okay, so we've got a comment from Gabe at Doc. Thanks, Gabe, for your question. I will read it out loud so everyone can hear it and understand. So, acknowledging Pete's point about many groups and meetings across the catchment, It will be good to have a link and coordinate all of these discussions and turn them into actions under one plan. Yeah, thank you. Great. That's what we're trying to do. And because the CAP and the Integrated Catchment Group has that broad range of skills and knowledge, we also have some of the TAs in the group. Doc is a part of that group as well. Linz is part of that group. I think this is really it's the strength of the plan, isn't it? And you've seen that in the other CAPs as well.
And Mark, thank you for your question as well. We did talk a little bit earlier about, we didn't talk necessarily about the plan that, well, we didn't talk about the plan that the Taiari Trust had done, but this is very much based on the work that's already been done in the area and incorporating those into something that works for our current environment and our current regulatory, the current world in which we live.
Thank you, Sophie. Yep. Perfect. Thank you, Sophie. Good. Clicking the buttons better than I do. Good. Okay, so it seems like that was it for. Okay, we got one more question from Nicole. The question is, how many community volunteer members are you seeking? Great point. And I was supposed to say that to one of my slides. We are looking at something around 20 people because the group itself needs to be a functional group for the workshops.
And Caitlin, we do often bring our science colleagues with us to meetings, especially if there are things or particular areas where their expertise would be really useful. We do always talk to them in between our meetings. We check whether, all kinds of things with them. But if there is, a specific thing where maybe you want to know more about estuaries, we will ask our estuary scientists to come in and maybe give you a talk as well. So yes, we sort of keep that conversation going quite strongly.
All right. With 2 minutes to go, I think we're done pretty well. So a huge shout out to everyone that has joined us tonight. Just because the meeting closes does not mean that we're not available. This is the email address, and we can also actually pick up the phone and talk to each other. We have received one more question in the chat, which is asking if it requires a sign-in. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but whatever you are referring to, the answer is no. The Taiari Hub, no sign-in required. And to express your interest, no sign-in required. Excellent. Good. So with that being said, I think it will be a good time to close us off with the karakia. In the way of finishing this meeting, and I was wondering, Paulette, would you like to give us the honor to do a karakia tonight?
Why are you picking on me for? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, kei te pai tira. Look, ngā mihi kia tātou, kua whai wā, ki te hui te pōnei, ki tēnei kaupapa whakahira kia tātou katoa. So just thanking everybody for your time tonight. It's a really important focus for us to have, and hope to see you all along the way. But I'll just close with an offering, I suppose, to wish us all a safe and happy evening. So kia tau mai te manaaki taka o te wāhi karo ki ruka ki tēnā ki tēnā o tātou, kia toi tū, te kupu kia toi tū, te ora, kia toi tū, te reo Māori, tūturu whakamaua kia tīna, haumie, hui e, tai ki, kia ora koutou.
Kia ora.
Kia ora koutou.